there, you're listening to Your Life is Awesome, featuring true life stories about sex told by audience members at SmutSlams around the world. SmutSlam is a growing network of dirty storytelling shows founded in 2011 by me, Cameron Moore. We do our best to keep SmutSlam safe, but safe doesn't mean G-rated. Some of these stories are explicit as fuck. If you're not into that, now is a good time to get out. Otherwise, enjoy the show. Hey there, friends, fans, and freaks, and welcome back to Your Life is Awesome, the official SmutSlam podcast. I'm Cameron Moore, your host of the podcast and the creator of SmutSlam International, and I am super excited to let you know that this episode is the first one recorded in Tallinn. We recorded these stories at two different slams in Tallinn last year, in April and October of 2025 at Winkel. The themes were the great outdoors and night creatures. Guess which one belonged to October and which one went along with April. In both cases, though, it's kind of the same thing, right? Twilight trysts, bedroom romps, hidden corners of clubs and streets and forests and, oh yeah, like who knows what lurks in the shadows? Apparently our audiences do. In between these excellent stories, we of course have the fuck buckets, which are anonymous questions and confessions that our audiences submit. And holy crap, those can be incredibly educational. So I hope you enjoy those. Thank you to all the tellers on this episode for giving us permission to share their stories on the show. And yeah, strap in, everybody. We'll see you on the other side. Oh gosh. We were driving to a festival and got an idea to have some nature sex. Since we were in a hurry, we just stopped by the road and forgot that other people also use this road. So we got started, and when others passed by, we just smiled and waved. Like, I don't know about you, but I'm just getting this whole visual image of the different positions you could do against a car on a busy road and what that must look like to be like just bent over the hood, you know, like getting railed. Hey, hey. It would be more like, hey. That's astonishing. I love how they're like, oh, we forgot that people use the roads. Oh, right. During the summer, you forgot. Cool.
So a few years ago, I lived in Northern Ireland, and I lived right on the north coast, but I had to go down to Belfast all the time. But because I lived on the north coast, I always frequently had to find places to stay when I was in Belfast, so I never really had a home there. Normally, I would stay with an 83-year-old Swiss-German woman. She was great. We had good chats, but the thing is, if I was trying to go out at and stay out till 2, 3 a.m., I'm not really going to knock on her door and be like, what's up, Mathilde? You want to let me in? So I got pretty good at couch surfing. So there's this one weekend I was down, and it was the weekend after Pride. And similarly to Tallinn, there is a gay street, but it's got 2 bars on it. So I was out that night, weekend after Pride, with a friend after a music gig, and we're dancing, having a good time, and I'm getting it on with the girl in the bar. And then it turns out she's friend of my friend. I'm like, perfect. And then we go back to my friend's house, and we're flirting, doing all that stuff. And then she says the best compliment you can get in Northern Ireland, which she goes, I fancy you. And I'm not going to do the accent because it'd be offensive and bad. But anyway, so I'm like, I fancy you too. What are we doing? And so everybody else is out there having a smoke break, and we're sitting on the couch, and we're kind of having little smooches behind the curtain so nobody can see that I thought. And then at some point I'm like, hey, let's keep this party going. However, I'm sleeping on a couch. I can't invite you back. And then she goes, I live with my parents. I was like, fuck. I was like, okay, cool. So then we're like, I got it. It's modern day. And we go on our phones, and we're starting to look through Airbnbs, hostels, little places, anywhere that we can find. We're going through. At some point, a couple of our friends come over, and they're like, what are you doing? We're like, trying to find a place to fuck. And they're like, cool, let me get in. So we had about 5 people sitting there trying to go. But we couldn't find anything. And at this point, the party's winding down. It's 3 a.m. And I'm like, we just need to go. So we're walking, and me and her walk in, have a little makeout session here and there. And then I'm like, what if we just like went to the places? Like, they're not going to deny us when we're standing right in front of them with money, right? So we go into the central business district and we're walking around and we're going into these different hotels and hostels we can find. We're like, you got a room for us? And they're like, no, sorry, all booked up. No, we don't have anything. And honestly, it looked like we were sort of, it's like the Mary and Joseph, no room at the end. But rather than like the son of God being born, it was two dykes trying to fuck. Yeah. So we, maybe we didn't have God on our side that day. But either way, we were getting there, and this girl, Dervla, was getting really upset because she was like, this is Belfast at the end of April. Why are all these places booked up? Who wants to be here? And I was like, I don't know. So it's like 5:30. At this point, the sun's kind of rising. Where it's like, okay, well, what do we do? And I was like, all right, I'm going to muster every ounce of game I have in my body and try to think of the best response I ever can to try to get her to keep going with this. And I said, hey, how do you feel about outside shenanigans? And that's the best I could figure out, how to ask that question. And obviously, she either chose to ignore I asked it in that way, or she thought it was endearing and cute, because she was like, I'm game. So we're walking around, similarly, trying to find little alcoves, but it wasn't as busy, and there weren't that many people around. And then at one point, we see like a couple fences and this like little overhang, and we're like, okay, that's perfect. So we jump over, and we jump over a fence, and we're like, this is perfect. And like, it's a little dusk, but no one's out yet because it's like 5:30, which is just that sweet spot where people aren't really at the bars anymore, but aren't really starting their day. And so we go to town, and we're having a good time, and we finish up, and we put our rings back on, and and we're walking out, and we jump out, and then I walk home, and I go to the couch I was sleeping on. I got approximately an hour and a half of sleep, and then I went back up to where I was living on the North Coast. Fast forward, like a few weeks later, I was in Belfast again, and I was walking around, and I was like, damn, this looks really familiar. Like, I've been here before. Like, why? I went to drinks with, like, my friend, and I was like, what? Why not? Why does this look correct? Like, I don't know. And then I looked up, and I looked in this corner. I was like, oh, that's where we fucked. Okay, cool. And what it ended up being was this bar in the middle of an intersection, like 4 streets, and all these security cameras around. None of us looked. And I was like, cool. And to this day, I will not go to that bar. Thank you.
Because some fucker watched all of it, right? On rewind, like on loop, over and over again. Yes, indeed. Good heavens. That's great. Because sometimes I do feel, as embarrassing as it can be to be seen, I do feel there's something to be said for like just monkey wrenching a little bit, like people's kind of obliviousness as they walk around in the world. We're a source of miracle and delight. Public sex, accidentally, everyone gets to feel like, a little secret they get to keep or tell all their friends. I'm not sure. Oh dear. Okay. Once I was fucking around on my period while I had a tampon in. Uh-oh. I didn't plan to have penetration, but one thing led to another. And although we didn't insert everything fully, it was enough to lose the string of the tampon. I was also rushing to an event and didn't have time to look for it right away. So a few hours later, there I was in the room. It looks like the something room of a mall, fishing for my tampon. And after almost fisting myself, I finally found it. Once I fucked under a Christmas tree and got thorns stuck to my buttocks, but also the gift of an epic orgasm.
Some of you know that girls sometimes have a 3-person group chat, which is known to be a place of very many affirmations and also the worst, snarkiest comments you can imagine. My 3-person group chat was born of the idea that all 3 of us do handicrafts, And about a year ago, it was the middle of May, the weather was lovely, and upcoming was a really important date, the International Knitting in Public Day. Oh yeah. And we planned a little picnic, put down, like we were supposed to meet at the Schnelli Park, who is in Tallinn, from Tallinn knows. We put on blankets, we had like a few little snacky snacks, and everybody brought their projects. And so we met up and knitted in public in the park. Prior to that lovely little outing, one of the girls in that chat messaged me like, hey, you're a weird one. I have a dildo that I don't use. Like, I bought it. She said, I bought it. I tried it. Disinfected it. It's too big for me. Doesn't fit. I don't like it. Do you want it? Me, at that time, had used just a longish vibrator for that purpose. So I thought like, yeah, I could, try to level up. I've sat on some biggish dicks in my time. I don't know, I could try to see if it doesn't fit for her, maybe it fits for me. Jumping up, it does fit me. It is in use. But, so us sitting there doing the knitting and just like, oh yeah, I got the dildo. And out of her bag, she reaches into her bag and brings out a smallish brown paper bag. So it looks like something that some people would use to discreetly drink alcohol. It's like a brown paper bag, and she hands it to me, and she didn't say much about what it looks like. Just said too big for me. So I opened the brown paper bag, and with its one unblinking eye, stares back at me, the biggest, blackest dildo I've seen. Okay. Closing the bag, putting it discreetly next to me, and then the slightly fun moment that when you are in parks in Tallinn during the summertime, sometimes events happen around you. So while we were, knitting, chatting, dildo next to me, covered up, suddenly we hear like a rehearsal for a concert that's supposed to take place in a few hours. I don't think it was like the lady, grand old lady Anne Veski herself, but it was definitely some Schlager music of your parents' time. And booming out from over the Kadrioru hillsides was Kaasa-tšoki keerutades kiirelt möödub öö. Hey! So who is Estonian knows this song is, about dancing around and round. So me, being the little ADHD goblin that I am, took the paperback dildo in my hand, and the next time that refrain got around like Kaasa-tšoki keerutades kiirelt möödub öö. So yes, I have swung hidden dildo in a public place, and it's a good dildo. Thank you.
It's another one of those stories, like when you said things happen, I'm like, if this could go in numerous ways that I don't even know. I like telling my vanilla friend sex stories and the kinky stuff I've done. I see him get uncomfortable, but I hope that if I tell it enough, tell her enough stories, she'll get used to it and start exploring herself. And that's female empowerment. Smiley face. I mean, can be. Like, I want to just point out, like, I don't want us to be forced. This is why SmutSlam will always be, like, in a private space. And, like, I don't want people who don't want to hear sex stories to be at SmutSlam, right? I want everyone to be here to opt in. So you got to give your friends, whoever they are, you got to give them an option to opt out, right? You can't just, like, press that upon them. I understand what you're saying, though. I think that many of us in here are the kinky friends in the friend circle, right? And do they, like, sometimes they really ask you, they're like, what was it like in that dark room, right? And yeah, like maybe they're just being curiosity seekers about it, or maybe they're filing it away for possible use, all right? But I encourage you, when you're talking with your friends about your sex stuff, make sure that it's opt-in. Make sure that it's opt-in, all right? That's my recommendation to you. Okay. Thank you. It's not a lecture. I just want to make sure I have no context for any of these fuck buckets, right? So maybe you're already doing that and I missed it, all right? For everybody else who's like, yeah, I want to tell. Okay. Oh, yeah. My favorite and best vibrator is a $10 one that I bought from a weird gas station. She's still kicking to this day. # longest relationship I've had. You know why? So they're like $10 at a weird gas station. So this is clearly North America. You know why? That you can buy the sex toy stores in a lot of America, in a lot of the U.S., they're at gas stations. They're outside next to rest stops, right? And
Why?
I'll tell you why. Because the nearest cities will not allow them for ordinances. They won't allow adult shops within city limits. I know. This is the main reason why that happens. I mean, what's also true is that, like, it's a big population of people going through those rest stops, and they might be coming from places where you can't buy sex toys at all. So truck stops kind of make a certain amount of sense. But that's originally why they're placed at truck stops and gas stations.
I've been here a couple of times, so I'm not sure if I've told you this one. I've definitely told a story from that particular dark room in Berlin, which is called The Bull. Has anyone been to The Bull? You don't have to admit it. It's fine. Just for context, there's this one place called Thicken 3000, which is apparently quite popular. It's a gay bar in Berlin. And I was taken there, and people told me, this is a really horrible, trashy dive bar with a dark room on the bottom level. I was like, yeah, sure, that sounds amazing. And then we went there with a group of people, and then we hung out, and then I was, wondering, is this really the worst you could do? And then they said, no, there's The Bull. And then I went there, and I loved it. I went there, I think, the last time I went there, I think it was like three years ago. And there was a couple of events, but why I also really appreciated the condom story is that it's more about, for me, I'm interested in the intimate moments with different people, and sometimes once the evening, the night becomes more of a morning, more of an after party, then people open up in different ways. So just to set the scene, at Bull there's this one front area, which at 9 a.m. you would usually have like older men drink coffee there, and then there would be like different sex workers playing casino slots. It's very lovely. I love it. And then in the back there's like swings, and it's more of a darkroom area. And I remember this particular bear. This one guy, bear, is a hairy, larger built gay man. So we were together. On some kind of a like a higher plane, it's sort of like a couch basically. And then I just remember we were all obviously a little high, so we were like cats on catnip. We were just like hanging out. Aww. And then we were just like caressing each other. And then I remember like he asked me and I asked him, because consent is what? Yay! Consent is sexy. And then we started touching each other, and then we kept on talking because we were both, in that moment where we were sharing things. And I found out that he was a Shakespearean actor. And he said, I'm not sure if he actually performed at the Globe in London, but he said, like, he's a Shakespearean actor. I'm like, yeah, me too. Which is not true, obviously. But yeah, I just remember that at some point we hit a roadblock in our conversation, and then I was trying to come up with things to talk about. And I said, so what's your favorite Shakespeare play? Well, jerking him off. Yeah. and then I said, mine's Hamlet. And his was Macbeth. So thank you.
Oh, gosh. Oddly, even though I am not a Shakespearean actor, both of those plays make total sense for Handjobs in a way that Twelfth Night would not, for example, right? And the other thing is, like, if he wanted you to prove it, you could just start doing it in Estonian and be like, I only know it in Estonian, and then just like say some shit in Estonian, right? And just oh, that's amazing. That is amazing. Some Halloween celebrations ago, I dressed up as a creepy clown. At the party, I consumed substances that makes one cheerful but also causes erectile dysfunction, while as a bonus makes one horny. The party was a blast, and when it was time to hook up with a handsome gay man dressed as Joe Exotic, I was a sad, embarrassed clown with a limp dick. Moral, drugs are bad. I don't know. I feel like that's just sort of, what's that called? Method acting. I feel like that's just a good thing for a clown to get it. Although, honestly, a clown with a huge heart on would also be funny. Once I was a horny mermaid masturbating on a large rock in the shallow sea off the coast of Spain. I was visible enough that if any tourist peeked below the edge of the cliff, they would have seen me. My partner was under the cliff in the shadows, watching me and masturbating. It was exciting, but so much that it was hard to come. Still, I appreciate the experience and the memory. Aww. Okay. That is exciting. Okay. Oh. Okay. I am queer as fuck and can only imagine myself being romantically involved with a person who has a pussy and ideally breasts. But recently, I've only climaxed when thinking about being plowed by a warm, juicy cock attached to a dude. What the fuck? This is what I'm talking about. This is what I come to the fuck bucket for. Okay, so this person is not asking for advice, so I'm not going to give any. I will just mention they make the appropriate distinction about, like, there's romance and then there's getting plowed. Like, there's romance and there's sex, and those are actually two different things, and it doesn't mean... I said it at the beginning, like, some lesbians want dick. And sometimes it's just fantasy. Right? Sometimes it's just like a fantasy. Lots of people fantasize about things that they would not want to have happen in front of them in real life. They would run away screaming in real life, right? So great. I'm glad you've identified good sources of porn for yourself. Carry on.
So some context for this one. I had been single for a little bit. Went on some Tinder dates, some bad, some weird. And weird not in a good way. So yeah, at that point I was like, I don't want to say I was getting desperate, but I was like, okay, are there like people who are like cool and like interesting that I want to date like out there? So I met this girl and like we had set up like, okay, let's go on a date. And like so we do, and it's going like amazing. And in proper queer fashion, like the date is like the whole day, you know. It's not just like, oh, let's go for drinks. Like, no, we did activities the whole day. And then the sexual tension is like building. It's going really good, and I'm like, oh my god, yes. And then she asked like, do you wanna go back to my place? And I'm like, yeah. So we do. And like, we get to her place and we're like making out, and it's really hot and really heavy. And then like at one point, like at the corner of my eye, like I see something. It's the creepiest fucking mannequin I have ever seen. And it's just like literally facing the bed. So, you know, I don't know if you've seen the cock chair trend on TikTok. It was like that, but with like a mannequin.
What?
Yeah. She had just moved into the place, apparently, and there was a fucking mannequin there. And, like, you know, we tried to get it on, and I don't know, I can't do it. There's, like, a mannequin, like, staring at me. She's like, she had just, like, moved in. It was from the previous owner, this mannequin, apparently. We were like, what were we gonna do? And, like, as good queers, like, the only thing she had at that point was, like, a rainbow flag. So we put the fucking rainbow flag on the mannequin. And you know, we do things. And then we kept dating, and they go back, and, like, the fucking mannequin head is, like, still there. Apparently, she wasn't creeped out by it for some reason. And I'm like, hey, I really want to keep dating you. You are amazing. But can you put the mannequin away? And for the rest of the relationship, that mannequin stayed in the closet. Yeah. Relationship itself was amazing, but fuck. That was not what I expected to see at somebody's apartment. Yeah.
I have to say, like, it's all very well and good to say, oh, yeah, the previous owner had the mannequin, but, like, it was a choice to leave it there. You know, you still had time to put it in the closet if you wanted to. Okay, yeah. Okay. Okay. What should I look forward to and or watch out for as I become a mature woman or person with a vulva, uterus, etc.? Baby gay, signed baby gay, age 35. Okay. I'm open to anybody else stepping up in the room who's got like menopause going on or perimenopause. Also, if there's any sexologist in the house that wants to like chip in. But personally, I personally have found that my actual, I have to keep saying personally, my libido has gone down a lot. And I can't tell if that's like the state of the world or like my maniacal pursuit of my own career goals with SmutSlam or the hormonal stuff. I assume that it's going to be a combination of all of that. And it's funny because I have PCOS, I have polycystic ovaries, which means higher testosterone levels. So 15 years ago, I was banging, and that's all kind of settled down a little bit and smoothed out as I've gotten older. I have heard, and I think that I'm starting to experience that myself, that it's a little more difficult, the wetness, like things might dry out a little bit, right? And in which case, lube is there. Lube has always been there. Use the lube, all right? The other thing that apparently happens is that around the vulva, like, you can fat redistributes down there. Like it gets a little bit like things shift and your vulva will not look the same as it did. And I don't mean like, ooh, fresh 20-year-old vulva, but I mean like, I just mean it shifts around down there. Apparently you can lose some of your labia entirely. It just kind of smooths out. It's like, where'd that go? You know, no, it's just the body absorbing fat and shifting around tissues. Wow, that does sound exciting to look forward to, doesn't it? On the other hand, as you become a mature person, you get more experience with stuff. You learn to be a little more chill about stuff, and you learn to give less of a fuck about stuff. So, like, that makes a good sex balance, I think. So, pros and cons is definitely there. Any thoughts from the audience? Judges, anybody? Okay, there's your education in mature cisgender action. Okay, cool. Like, I guess in theory I should go and learn like some sex education formally, but I don't have time for that. Okay, so I just count on the audience chipping in. Okay, let's get our first storyteller from the audience up here. See, like it's very ASMR friendly. Like these buckets are very like, woo. The echoes of destiny. Okay.
My story has layers and generations, and it involves me, my best friend, my grandmother, fireplace, and sauna. So there was this one time when me and my best friend, back in the university times, when I thought, okay, let's go to countryside place, visit my grandmother. She has a great sauna. So we had sauna evening, maybe too much rum and coke, but whatever, like Coca-Cola. And then we had actually a lot of fun. And then the next morning, I'm gonna skip the sauna rituals because everybody knows what these are. But the next morning, I get a call from my mother and asking me that why did grandmother call me and ask me why there was this blonde, naked woman on top of your daughter, me. And at first I was like, I don't remember that. And then I was like, oh, shit. So it was like this, we were in this basement, cellar. There was this fireplace. And then I had my memory was coming back. Okay, we definitely had sex. It was great sex. And then I'm like, okay, I remember something happening on the door. I wasn't sure what it was. Anyways, it was my grandmother. And then she found out that, okay, I'm into women. But what makes this story a bit odd is that nobody knew until 10 that my grandmother was, it was her second marriage with the grandmother. And her first marriage lasted less than a year because in the Soviet times, her first husband, she was walking back home, and then she was living in a countryside place. There was a barn, something. And then she was looking for her husband, and then she opened the barn door, and then she found that her husband was he was fucking another guy. Yes! And then from that time, my mother was like, okay, your grandmother hates gays and you can't ever tell her that you're lesbian and so on. And then I was like, oh my God, I broke my grandmother's heart. Oh no. And then my mother was like, you have to lie to your grandmother. You have to apologize. I'm like, oh, that's, anyways. A couple of weeks later, I went back to visit my grandmother, and I'm like, about that night when you saw me and this blonde girl on top of me, naked, and then my grandmother stopped me, and she was like, it's okay, young people like to have fun. And I was like, you rock, I love you, and the end.
Okay, so Katie told me the synopsis of this before, and I was sitting there waiting for things to go south. I was sitting there waiting for grandma to be a bitch, but she was not. I mean, it's rightful response is if you don't want to be with a dude who's fucking other dudes, then you should do that divorce thing. But clearly that didn't taint her. That's lovely. That's lovely. Okay. All right. Cameron, I recently learned that you used to work for a phone sex line. Please tell us a cool and or topical story about your experiences doing that. Smiley face. Ass kissing smiley face. So I actually wrote a play. My first solo play that I did was called Phone Whore, based on that work. Yeah, award-winning, all that good stuff. Very hard to put up posters for, obviously. I ended up doing phone sex for about 8 years. I stopped when I moved across the Atlantic. I figured when I moved to Germany, I was like, I can't. There's not enough demand for English language speakers. And from what I hear talking to German speakers is even if you learn German, we don't want to talk about sex in German. So... So I sometimes forget, like, because it is now long enough ago. It is I'm more time away from it than the time that I spent in it. But it was very formative. I thought that what did I think? I did it out of desperation, not for a lark, all right? This was in 2009, the Great Recession, one of the recessions had just come along, and I had lost my job in marketing at a textbook publishing company. And my friends had always, a number of friends had said, you should do phone sex. You'd be really good at it. And I, fool that I was, listened to them and went ahead and signed up for that with the first agency that made me a legitimate offer. I'm trying to think what would be one of the things. Because the first thing you need to know is that I started doing comedy after that, and I would talk about some of my phone sex experiences, but comedians would tell me, you should go gonzo. You should tell all your gonzo stories about your customers. And I was always like, yeah, but I actually respect my customers a lot because they knew what they wanted and they knew where they could get it. And sometimes it was very specialized, narrow topics, and they knew exactly where to get it from. So why would I make fun of that? So let me see. I'll take one request from the audience. Give me what type of story you'd like to hear. Bearing in mind, it's not going to be making fun of someone. What type, what do we got? Pick for me, because I can't pick right now. Holiday. A funny thing?
Holiday.
A holiday. Okay, so one of my regular customers used to spend a lot of money. He would call also during the holidays occasionally, right? It wasn't like every holiday. I wish, because when he went to town, and he did this on several occasions, enough so that I was like, oh fuck, I hope that guy calls, because he would call, and the thing was, he was always so coked out that he couldn't come. So he just called and wanked and didn't come. And then he'd be like, I better call back, all right? So he'd call back again for an hour, and he didn't come. He was so coked out, and he said so. This isn't me assessing it. He was like, yeah. All right. He would ask me to do lines with him. He would ask me to party with him. And I was so naive because I don't really use a lot of drugs. That when he asked if I partied, I'd be like, yeah, I like to party. I really didn't know that it meant drug use, right? He would ask me to do lines of coke with him at the same time. And so I'd be sitting there on the phone going I didn't really know what that sounded like, right? And he'd be coking up on the other end. And he liked to cross-dress, or he liked to talk about cross-dressing. And he liked to talk about cross-dressing as a prostitute, as a sex worker, as a high class escort. And so we would talk about the perfumes that he would wear and the stockings that he would buy, brand names, the dresses that he would wear, the jewel, all brand names, all these brand names. Oh, I can't come. Let me call you back. And there were several holidays where we talked for a total of 5 hours that day. And there's part of me that's like, I don't know, guy, that you see some help, but on the other hand, 5 hours at my rates at that time was pretty good money. So that's your holiday story for you. You're welcome. Thanks for listening. God, Tallinn, I got to tell you, Tallinn is one of the places along the routes that I do where everyone who I tell them that I'm doing it in Tallinn, they're like, oh, but aren't Estonians really private and reserved? And I'm like, yeah, I guess. But first of all, our slams are for everyone of any nationality showing up in that city. And also, you know what? The exhibitionists and the sluts really want to share. So So we get the stories here in Tallinn. That's right. I want to give special thanks to Feministerium, which has been a big supporter of the Smut Slam over the last few years. It's a feminist organization that's doing great work out here. And I also have to thank the various co-producers who've been working with me. We had Nele over at Feministerium, and Lei, who is a spoken word artist in Tallinn. So they're doing great work hustling out our feminists, basically, who are, frankly, we need more feminists doing smutty stuff, and the Tallinn folks have it down. If you want more Your Life is Awesome, consider joining our Patreon, because there you'll get access to a special version of this podcast with its own RSS feed, with more stuff. There's regular episodes coming out a day earlier than we release to the public, and you're going to get extended episodes with more stories and more fuck buckets, and we can fit on the sort of public version, all right? Sometimes whole show recordings go up there if we can share it. It always depends on whether our storytellers feel good about it, and sometimes they do. Anyway, go to patreon.com/Your Life is Awesome and join our little club for as little as €2 or €3 a month. You can get in there. We value your support. It really helps us get the smut out there. You can also help by leaving a star rating on Apple Podcasts. It costs nothing and it helps a ton. Now, if you are fortunate enough to live in a place where Smut Slam happens in a live sort of way, in an in-person sort of way, then yeah, your life is fortunate indeed. But I want to tell you where we're at in case you're new to this whole thing so that you can maybe find a location near you. Gonna let you know basically the next month in advance. It's chock-a-block, y'all. It is time to put some lovely community connection and heat in your life with a Smut Slam, starting with these dates here. I'll be in Helsinki on February 5th, Copenhagen February 10th, Heidelberg on February 14th, and then Victor Victrola is heading out to Providence, Rhode Island to the Bimbo Factory on February 17th. February 19th, I'll be slamming it hard at the Retronome in Erfurt, Germany. Busty Latish is hosting a slam in Amsterdam on February 22nd. On February 23rd, I'll be hosting in Berlin at our new Berlin indoor venue, the Social Hub. Ooh. And then I'm flying straight out to Manchester to slam there on February 26th at the Fairfield Social Club. Also on the 26th, we've got our Didi Brazier, who's kind of handling most of the slams, if not all of them right now in Canada. She's got a whole run coming up here. February 26th in Winnipeg, March 1st in Victoria, and then there's more following that. I'll just give you the rest of it. March 3rd in Nanaimo, March 5th in Vancouver, and March 7th in Langley. All right, so we're doing the whole British Columbia tour there with Didi Brazier. We also have a Baltimore Slam. I want to go back in there. We have a Baltimore Slam happening on the 20th of February, and Greater Philly is getting some tickets in there, but we don't have the ticket link yet for February. So you want to go to smutslam.com and just wallow in the glory. All right. That's really what it is. It's a full long list and it gets longer every month. All right. Check us out there. And hopefully we'll get you at one of the live slams. If not, you can always come back and follow along here on the podcast, or keep your ears tuned for news about our next online slam when anyone from anywhere can sign on in. All right? We got lots of opportunities to catch our smut. We want to see you there. All right? Stay safe, everyone. Stay warm. Stay smutty if you can. And remember, in the face of everything, your life is awesome.
This has been Your Life is Awesome, a story podcast from SmutSlam with Cameron Moore. Produced by me, Marc Seistedt. Music by Sticky Biscuits. A huge thank you to all storytellers featured. All stories are being shared with permission. If you want to help us make more of these, plus get access to longer episodes and other bonus material, please join our Patreon at patreon.com/YourLifeIsAwesome. If that's not in the cards right now, you can also help by rating and reviewing this show. Look for that option in your podcast app. We might read out some reviews on a future episode. Got a question for Cameron? Write or send a voice recording to smutslampodcast@gmail.com. This too might be featured on the podcast. And if you want to find out more about SmutSlam and the code of conduct we use in the shows, go to smutslam.com. All links mentioned can be found in the podcast info. Thanks for listening.